Great. Welcome to the Breathing Edge podcast. Today we have an amazing man on our podcast as part of the Energized Leader series. I don't like. I was talking to Shane about his bio, and I'm like, we don't. He has his own bio. Like he's making his own way. And so we've got Taki Moore on here. He's the
Taki more clients. Taki, you want the answers? Taki will give you more.
Yeah, father of 6, coaches, lover of tacos. That's probably everything people need to know about me in 3 sentences.
Amazing.
Yes, right. I love it. And we got introduced to Taki by another one of our Energized leaders as well that we're going to be interviewing later on in this podcast.
Oh, Lord Dugan.
David Dugan. Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That was a really weird introduction because I experienced you before I knew your names.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we're in boardroom and everyone does a 10-minute talk. You know, they're $1 million plus coaches, clients of ours. Everyone has to prepare and present a 10-minute talk, and he goes, "Oh, is it okay if I go last?" I'm like, "Okay." Nobody ever wants to go last, you know. They want to go first. And then we go on through the day, and we have a couple of talks, and we do some work. We have a couple more talks, we do some work, and he's on in about 20 minutes. He goes, "Oh, it's not really a talk as much as it's an experience." I'm like, "Okay, all right. Well, I trust you, so just don't fuck it up." And so he got everyone to grab a pen and write down on a scale from 1 to 10 how clear and focused and energized are you feeling right now. And that was like a 7. Big day, 4 days of training. And then he goes, "Okay, close your eyes." And no, it wasn't even close your eyes. It was just do what I do. And he led us through the 6 minutes of breathing. And at the end, we had to write down our new number. And my new number was 11. And I was like, "Holy crap, that's amazing. Where did you learn this?" And he told me about you guys. So that's kind of
amazing.
Yeah.
And here we are now.
Yeah. I was a couple of minutes late for our session. I said, "Can you give me 4 minutes?" Because I needed to breathe for 3 minutes. So I was kind of at your level.
It works.
It works, totally.
Totally does.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, Taki, is because we've been to one of your events, and you just hold the energy so well for all the people in the room, and you just you go, you give, you share. You seem to love what you do, very passionate about what you do.
Yeah, of course.
And we just want to dive into that.
And also just the I guess we'll start out with you giving the background that you want to give about where you are, but what I really want to jump into is the simplicity that you bring to such a monster in businesses, marketing and sort of getting your message out there. And I really want to talk about your skill in how you make that so simple and effective for people to be able to apply it.
Yeah, good. Okay. Do you want to ask me a question and I'll answer?
No, I think that just start out. Yeah, just start out with your back. Just start out with from you to now. Like, just a quick vibe on you to now, where you've come from and where you are right now.
All right. Shit, man, that's a really big question.
How about
come on, Taki, simplify it.
Let me get a more direct question.
No, that's good. I've got something. So,
okay.
I'll go back 11 years. And I'm going to give you a vignette from 11 years ago, and then I'll give you it today. So 11 years ago, I am broke as a joke. I've got couple kids. We'll find out where, so a couple of kids. One of them's in high school at a performing arts high school. I'm making $60,000 a year at the time, which sounds okay. The high school was 25 grand. So you go 60 grand, take away tax, I'm down to like 30s. Take away maybe 40. Take away 25, I'm down to like not very much to live on. And I was really struggling. I talked to my friend Sam, and I had to borrow $200 off him to go to Coles and get food, And I'm so grateful to Sam, and I was pretty embarrassed. And I get home, and Kira Marie, my wife, goes, "Hey, I've got some news." I'm like, "Oh, cool! I love news." And she goes, "You probably want to sit down." I'm like, "Oh," and my brain goes, "I don't like sit down news, because sit down news is never good." And she says, "I'm pregnant." I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing." And I give her this big hug. And we have this moment, and she walks out the door, and I just go, "Oh, fuck." Because I already don't have enough money, and I'm 8 and a little bit months away from making it worse. And I set I've only ever set 2 real goals in my life. That was the first, which was by the time this baby's born, if we can get to $8,000 a month, I think we'll be okay. And did a webinar a few weeks later. A friend introduced me to somebody, and I did a webinar for their audience, and I learned that you can sell stuff on webinars. I'd never done one before, and that was a huge life shift from like freaking out to a bit of breathing space. And fast forward to last year. Yeah, short story, we made it. We're okay. Last year, I set the second goal I've ever made and really cared about, which was, could we in a year, because every year you're supposed to do goals, start of the new year, and the goals are like, how many clients do you want, how much income do you want, stuff. And I'd sort of played that game, but never really felt anything. It always felt really empty, and it's sort of like if somebody said 10, it's just a number, And so I set a different goal. I said, what's the number that if we hit this at the end of the year, I'd know that everything else was on track. And the number was, if we can get 50 coaches to get to their first $1 million, we'll be doing amazing work. And it's the only goal I've ever set that I cared as much about as I did the get ready for Araha's birth. So thank God it's an amazing story on its own, but we got, it was the second last day of the year, and we got 48 people there, and I was exhausted and just emotionally spent. I went down to the beach with my phone, and I shot this video called We Failed and I'm Done, which was, we worked so hard, thanks to everyone who tried, but we didn't make it. And tomorrow's the last day. And anyway, so I got a text message the next morning from Alex Sharpen, who we were just talking about, saying, hey, Taki, just wanted to let you know, with your help, we went from 250 grand last year to 2.2 million this year. Thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you. I'm like, 49, that's great. And then a few minutes later, I'm sitting on the toilet on my phone, which is terrible. But
everyone does it.
Same with everyone.
And I get this message from Sylvie McCracken saying, hey, dude, I talked to the accountant yesterday. We just hit $1 million for the first time. And I was like, do you know what this means? And I just started bawling my eyes out on the toilet. And this happened maybe a month after we met face to face, And so last year, by some miracle and a lot of hard work from lots of people, we helped 51 people get to their first $1 million. And I couldn't be prouder or more grateful, or I'm still kind of pinching myself, to be honest. It feels almost too good to be true.
So Taki, that begs the question then, what's the next target?
Well, it's funny you mention that. It's right here on my wall. So the next goal is to get 75 people to their next mil. And it could be first, or it could be second, or it could be fifth or 10th or whatever. But I realized that the first goal was amazing, but if you've already hit your first $1 million, then my goal's not included. It doesn't include you. So we've got a bunch of clients kind of on that spectrum, and so I just want, anyway. So that's the thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just listening to you, interesting how pressure creates lateral thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how pressure creates energy to take action.
Yeah. And I think we all do stuff. There's motivations, right? Like getting 50 people to $1 million a year feels like a really generous motive, and it is. Getting to $8,000 a month so we don't die. I don't really care what motivates you, as long as you're moving forwards. I think that we all go through a phase where we're kind of, fixing problems or trying to avoid stuff, and then hopefully a level where we're chasing stuff, and then another level hopefully where we're giving stuff, and they're all valid. I don't really.
So Taki, working with all these people, so I want to ask 2 questions. Working with all these people, when it comes to leadership, when they're leading themselves and their businesses, what do you see are the common things that you see within people, and then also turn that question on yourself, like what are the things that you do in self-leadership and leadership of your team and stuff like that?
Okay, so let's talk about them first, because hopefully by the time we've done that, I'll have a good answer for the second one.
Good.
Yeah, luckily nobody was listening to us when we said that. That was an inside joke, right? So what do people do? Let's talk about what they don't do. I think sometimes we get in our own way, and it's simple things. And I think one of the big mistakes that we all make is we complicate. We make things harder than they need to be. And I think if it's hard work, we're doing it wrong. And that's probably about everything, including the sleep conversation that you and I had before That was my aha this morning. So I think if it's hard work, you're doing it wrong. And I believe that about everything. I don't believe in hustle. I believe in simplicity, and healthy things grow. Like trees don't have to like hustle. They just do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, how do you get healthy, and so the whole journey, I think, for all of us is how do we simplify first and then multiply second? And when that happens, magic happens. So in terms of how you implement that, well, I think it's like, how do you simplify the various parts of your business, whether it's lead generation or it's sales or it's delivery? How do you simplify habits and routines? I remember years ago I read about my favorite French designer, this amazing guy called Philippe Starck, who designs yachts and hotels and there's a homewares brand called Alessi that has like this beautiful high-end kind of fancy stuff. And if you ring his office in the morning, you get a voicemail. It's probably in French, or at least with a French accent, which I'm not going to do. I'll just do the Aussie version. But it says, here at Philippe Starck, we believe the morning's for thinking and the afternoon's for doing. We're thinking right now, leave us a message and we'll call you back in the afternoon. And I think like segmenting workflow, I think like, honestly, I teach marketing and business, but what I really do is I give people two things. Number one, permission to be fully them, fully expressed. Obviously I can't sell that, but that's what I'm sneaking in. And number two, I help them create a way to make work flow beautifully and easily. And that's just about finding out how you tick. When you tick, mornings, afternoons, themes for different days. I have Rockstar Friday when I'm creating new content or teaching it. I've got Money Thursday when it's a big sales day for us. I've got Team Tuesday, so every day's like got a job. So it's about finding out when you work best and how you work best, and then building a business around you at your best, not compensating for weaknesses.
So it's that organization for flow. So organizing your life and your business and you for the maximum amount of flow that you can.
Because there's a spectrum. There's friction here and there's flow there. And anytime you hear it's hard work, and anytime you hear it's effortless. So let's get there all the time. And so for me, I'm quite kinesthetic. I need to feel stuff and I need to move in order to be able to think. And so stand-up desk. On the floor, just down here, I've got a spare one here. There's a big roll of brown paper. Sits down on the ground, rolls up over my desk. And actually, my desk is messy, but I'll show you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Don't judge.
Interactive.
But seriously, it's super messy, but I think it'll be useful. One sec. Let me see if I can.
Well, and take note, Taki is very creative.
And I've also just got back from overseas, and I've got suitcases here that still aren't packed. So I'm just gonna try not to show you too much stuff, although.
No, this is cool because this is showing us how you actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So stand-up desk, right? Here,
awesome.
down there. I've got a little swing arm that my phone sits on, so that's kind of you and me talking to each other, just there. I put my phone in here. I've got this spiky mat here on the ground that I like to stand on because it feels good. But the thing I really wanted to show you is this. So this is a roll of brown paper. It scrolls up the desk. I drill a ruler on that holds it steady, and I just swipe, and then I draw, and then I'll take a photo of that and send it off to Mike, the designer, and it gets made. And so my whole world is talking and drawing, and anything that's not talking or drawing, I don't really do. Because I'm good at talking and I'm good at drawing, and I haven't typed a word in, dude, I don't know, like 5 years or something.
Wow.
So I think it's like, how do you work best, and then how do you build a business that lets you do the bit you're amazing at? Jim Rohn, the leadership, not Jim Rohn. John Maxwell, leadership guy, said, do what you can be a 9 or a 10 at. Nobody wants to pay to see you be a 4, right? So which is, I think, is completely true. So let's just be 10s and have a little bit of a support crew pick up the pieces and support you in your 10ness.
100%.
Yes, and I love that. That totally resonates with me because it's fascinating when people get to their business where they're like kind of like on the edge, where they need to bring in more people, but there's some resistance to it. So whether it be resistance or training resistance or whatever. So my next question is what do you do to energize yourself past the resistance points that come up for you in either business or in personal life?
I've just got a really low tolerance for stuff that annoys me. So I hired my first virtual assistant, Ashley, I don't know, a couple of months after I started, I read Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Work Week, talked about a virtual assistant. I thought, what a great idea. And I'm phobic to email. Like I send emails, but I don't, like I've got a team that sends emails for me, but I don't have email in my phone or on my iPad. I don't even own a computer. And anything that bugs me is the first thing to go. So Ashley's first job was check my email so I never have to, and listen to my voicemail so I never have to, because those things both feel like the world's trying to get me. And it's kind of paranoid, but
it's the removal of friction and resistance, really, for you.
Right. And if you think about any process, whether it's like recording a podcast like this or sending an email or whatever, there's a list of steps, and some of them add a heap of value. And some of them are set up and some of them are clean up. And so my job is like identify the one bit that's useful. Like the conversation we're having right now is the magic, right? But reaching out to me and scheduling me and maybe thinking about some questions, and then afterwards like editing it if that's a step and putting it on the internet, like that's all logistics, but this is the magic. And so let's get it so that, you know, we only have to do the magic, and the setup and the makeup is setup and the cleanup is done by not us. That, you know, I think about that about all of my life. The reason my suitcases are here still unpacked is because the unpacker hasn't arrived yet. She gets here in a couple of hours, and part of her job is to unpack, put all the stuff in the wash, you know, because that's, I mean, it's not expensive. She's just a house cleaner. But like if unpacking is if you just made a list of like, Alex Sharpen's got this great question in his product placement for Alex Sharpen, my good friend, Momentum Planner thing. He's got this question which says, where was I uncomfortable yesterday?
Yeah, right.
What a great question. Because we tolerate too much, especially if you're a business person. You put up with so much stuff that's half done or that you don't really like doing, but you just got to do it. What if you didn't tolerate anymore? I think that'd be a little bit magic. So anyway, some thoughts.
That is magic, because the next question that I was going to ask was, you know, what is it that drains you? And I would say probably the logistical stuff drains you.
Dude, details drain me. Calendars drain me. I'm actually banned from my calendar. I've got read-only access. I'm allowed to look at stuff, but I can't put anything in because I booked myself to speak at 3 conferences on the same day in 3 different continents a few years ago. And the team's like, this is... it takes a special kind of moron to pull that kind of stuff off. So logistics freak me out. Repetitive stuff. I love making systems, but I hate following them. Lack of quality really bugs me. Like I've got really high standards about how things should look and sound and feel if they're coming from us. And anytime there's the font's not right or the regular process is done, I lose my mind. So there's lots of things that make me uncomfortable, mostly anything that's boring or logistical.
But now, what do you do when you feel like you've been drained? Like, what do you do for recovery or for being able to bring yourself back to keep going to the next level?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts of that. There's like, how do you fix the uncomfortable thing so that it never happens again? And that's just making a list every 90 days of what are the things which are making me uncomfortable and making a plan and getting them out of my world. And then how do you recover? You do the things that make you happy. Like, we've got this business that is amazing. Like, we're hundreds of clients and it makes really, really, really good money. But like, frankly, man, there's only 3 things I need, like, aside from friends and family, which like, I'm a big connection guy, but like I was telling someone the other day, there's only 3 things I need to be like the happiest man in the world. We travel all around the world. And so the first step is I open up my phone and there's an app called Bean Hunter that finds me the best coffee wherever I am. And I have like the best time exploring. Like I had a 30-minute conversation, probably the best conversation of my entire year on the weekend at this new coffee shop, talking to this guy called Dennis about his obsession to coffee. Like, I love that. I need good coffee. Number 2, if I can find a great barbershop, wherever we are in the world, so I jump on Instagram and search for barbershop Gold Coast or barbershop Milano and get a good haircut. That's a little bit of magic. And then I count success as the number of days I can go without wearing shoes. And so like, that's all I really need. And if I'm far from the water, I lose my mind. So that's why I'm never going to move to Austin, Texas, because I need a beach.
So groomed and connected.
Yeah. Quality time with friends is like super important, and family, you know? Yeah. Like it's what makes life rich.
Love it.
Hey,
Well,
can I show you one other little thing that I
Yeah.
started doing maybe 4 months ago? I read it in a book called Own the Day by Aubrey Marcus.
oh yeah.
Water, half a lime, some Himalayan salt, 3 grams of salt, half a lime, and a liter of water is just the most delicious drink in the world, and it's good for you, I think. And tastes amazing.
Well,
Just add tequila.
it
Just kidding.
Tequila and a worm, exactly right.
well, it increases.
I know where this is going.
It increases the little electrical sparks in your body. So
It's got some vitamins. It's got a
Yeah.
bunch of minerals. It's really yum.
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, sensational. Well, that probably, you beat me to the thing where I was going to ask you what are the three key habits or 3 things that keep you going. I think that you already gave us 3. Yeah.
did I tell you about my new accountability coach that I just hired?
Oh, tell me about
Do
it.
tell.
So Ethan, my son, has just finished high school. He's got cerebral palsy. You guys probably met him.
Yeah.
And so he's finished high school and he's looking for a job. He doesn't really want to study. He wants money. But we're traveling and he's got to be with us because of his special needs. And so he's always asking me for a job. And I had Grant, my ex-boss, over the other day, and we hung out for a day because he's moving to the Goldie. And Ethan's like, Dad, I want money. And so we figured out this plan. And it was what are the habits that I'm doing daily, weekly, monthly to live my best life?
Mm.
And so there's 4 things. Daily, move, breathe, thank you guys, eat healthy, shoot a video. Like that one's a work thing. If I can do that, I'm good, right? And so then there's some weekly stuff. Anyway, so the deal is every day at 4 o'clock, Ethan asks me, he's got a reminder, say, Dad, give me a score for your day from 1 to 10. I'm not allowed to say 7 because 7 is what everyone says. So any other number apart from 7. He punches that into his Google sheet. And then he says, have you walked? Have you breathed? Have you eaten healthy? It's like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Every day that he asks me, he gets $10. I'll tell you about the pricing in a minute because that was important. Every one that I miss, I pay an extra $5. If he forgets to ask me, he owes me $5. So we get to the point where we set up the spreadsheet, and the only thing we haven't talked about is pay. And he says, so Dad, we haven't talked about the money yet. I'm like, yeah, we should. What do you think? And he goes, I think it's $40 a day. I'm like, dude, that's a bit rich. And he just looks at me and he goes, Dad, I've been hanging around you too long. I'm going to ask you the question. How much is it costing you not to live your best life, Dad?
Boom.
I'm like, oh, all right. Let's make it $10 with bonus pay both ways, and it's good. It's
so gold. It's so gold, Taki, because most of the stuff, even with our clients, a lot of the stuff is just purely accountability. It's exactly that. It's purely asking you that one question of have you or have you not.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that is worth, for someone that's working at our level, that's working at your level, dude, that becomes a really important thing.
Yeah, right. And, often we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught.
Mm.
My friend, I've got so many smart friends. Alex Hormozy said that, and I'm like, that's totally true. Yeah. And so, it's simple things, isn't it? Like there's nothing magic about moving and breathing and eating well, other than if you don't do them, you're basically screwed. And if you do, life's amazing. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I would see you, but personally, my opinion of you is you're like the king of lateral thinking. Like I see you coming up with so many cool things and quirky things like the creativity and just like what you were showing us, like how you feed the creativity. What is it that you do that helps you to do more of that?
2 things. I don't really chase goals, but I solve problems all the time. And I love a good problem. So I've got, these are problems I'm solving right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love a good problem. Every week on a Friday morning at 10 o'clock, we've got a webinar that we do with all our clients called The Sprint. And good work happens when you've got a clear task, no distractions, in a set time frame. And so everyone shows up. We explain those 3 things. We say, so the no distractions is this space we're in right now. The time frame is 50 minutes. That's going to start in a minute. So what's the one thing you want to work on? And so I'll take one of my problems and and I'll say what mine is and they'll say what theirs is. And I put 50 minutes on my iPad and it counts down. And so I'm like, I love like short time frames. It's kind of magic for me. That really helps. I've got a framework for like figuring out what I want. But so I think I'd say number one, having a good problem. And number two, I'm really good when I'm with somebody else. I'm not that great on my own. And so almost everything I've created has been in conversation. I tend to think with my mouth more than my head. And anytime I've got an issue, my first thought is, okay, who could help me with this? And I just jam with them on stuff.
Brilliant. Now, how you also do this really cool thing. I think once a year or twice a year that you bring your team together and create like a synergy. Are you bringing everybody together? Tell me more about that, because that is not many people do.
Yeah. So our team's remote. We've got people in Australia, some in the States. I've got a writer in Malta. And we've got a team of, I don't know, 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 or something in the Philippines. I don't know. And once a year we get together on an island because beaches are good. And we've got a 3-day workshop, and we get more done in like working virtual is amazing, and it's got downsides, right? And what we find is in 3 days together, we can make, probably 6 months progress. And so we all get together on this island, and we call it the SWT ratio. We've got to get the perfect blend of swimming, working, and tacos. And so we have 90-minute breaks, and every 90 minutes we work for 90 minutes, and then we have a quick swim break, and the food arrives, and we eat. And then I'll have another swim before we work, and then we'll work a bit, and then we'll swim and we'll eat, and then I'll swim again. So and it's magic. It's partly it's relationship, but we don't do like team building stuff. We just work on problems. Like, I don't think you need to motivate people. People that come pre-motivated. Our job's just like get the crap out of their way so they can actually do what they want to do.
Because I want to really highlight this, because this is something you often hear around the entrepreneurial circles, is this concept of doing these sprints and working in timeframes. And I think that it's really difficult for a lot of people to do. And just listening to how you've really, I guess, integrated it and are living that, and you can see how effective it is for you to be able to do that. So, where did this first become an important thing, or you started to notice a superpower in this, time blocking things out and doing it that way?
So I think it was probably seeing my complete inability to get anything done. I was working by myself. Like, honestly, it's getting to the end of a day where you've sort of been sitting at your desk from 9 until 6. And at the end of it, people are calling you for dinner or whatever. And you're like, dude, where did that day go? I've done nothing. And like, I think it's less about, look how proactive Taki is, and more about, without some serious, like, help, this guy's a complete moron. And so how do we prop him up with some structures that help? Like 50 minutes, there's this thing called the Pomodoro technique, which is, tomato timer. So it's basically that 50 minutes felt like a good enough time. And I think, if you've got a clear task and no distractions, you can kind of get started because it's clear. And if you've got no distractions and a timer, you can kind of get right into it. And if you've got like a timer and that clear task and probably other people doing the work too, you can kind of get it done. And so for me, it's just like, it's mostly about setting up a few simple structures to get the most out of me. And like, I think I should say that I'm way better at managing weeks and years than I am at hours and minutes and days. Mm-hmm. Like, if you looked at my day, you'd go, this guy's an idiot. Like, what a putz, like if I can get 1 or 2 50-minute sprints done a day, I'm thrilled, and I could check out at 11 and be done, happily done. Most of my days are set up that they finish at lunchtime. And then if I've got meetings, I could do them there, or I could just kind of grab lunch and hang out. I'm better in the morning than I am in the afternoon. If the ideal day looks like 2 50-minute sprints, worth of actual productive stuff, I think that's plenty. You can get it done then. I got my daughter in trouble a couple of years ago it was Thursday night. It was bedtime, 7:30 at night. And I'm like, Bub, it's time for bed. And she's like, oh, I haven't done my homework. It's due tomorrow. She's on the spectrum. So she's like, you know, it's important. She doesn't want to let anyone down because she's going to get in trouble. So I'm like, Bub, but it's bedtime, you know. And she got really, really upset and exasperated. She goes, but it has to be done. I'm like, but, you know, it's bedtime right now, but I have to do it. I'm like, okay, Bub, listen to this. They've got you for 8 hours a day. If they can't get the work done in 8 hours, why should that be your problem? She's like, oh, okay, Dad. And she goes to sleep. Anyway, so next day, everyone's handing in their work, and she says, the teacher goes, Aroha more? And she says, I haven't done it. She goes, well, why not? She says, well, my dad says, you've got me for 8 hours a day. If you can't get the work done in 8 hours, why should that be my problem? And so next thing I got this call from the teacher. But I think that's valid. Like, I think if we can compress down like the most important stuff, I've got this client called Ronsley, amazing dude. You know, we help people make more money, make a bigger difference, and get more free, right? So it's really money and time. And so he asked himself about 6 months ago, if I could only do like 4 tasks in my job, what are the 4 things that only I can do? Like for you guys, this podcast is probably one of them. Yeah, for me, it's create content, teach content, whatever. So 4 things. And he goes, if I could only run my business in 2 days a week. And so, you know, Spanx, those like compression pants, he basically put Spanx on his business. And so he's got these 4 things, two days a week, and then he's got the rest of his week to do something else. And I think often like a time limit is a really nice forcing function.
Yeah, healthy amount of pressure. Well, that's putting chosen pressure for lateral thinking and getting more done.
Of course. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so healthy use of pressure is definitely something that I think that everyone can look at, because it's either, you know, people are either on the opposite ends of the scale. They might find themselves with more time, but times it's a vacuum and they start filling it up with shit that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, exactly right. If you're on Facebook 9 times a day, like I used to be, we've got problems. I had to delete the app off my phone and access it through Safari on my phone, which sucks. So you're in and out pretty quick, you know?
Oh, I love it.
That's actually, you should do that, actually. That's pretty good.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, and that's funny about
that you just pointed and told him, gave him like personal development homework.
Do you know what you'll find though? You'll find that the finger that pokes that way is actually pointing the other way, Taki.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that with my Facebook account, I actually feel behind because I haven't checked my Facebook really in about 2 weeks. And I'm like, there's probably comments outstanding and, you know, these sorts of things. So I'm like, wow.
Now, I want to ask you.
There is, but it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question, Taki, because it came up the other day when I said to Angie, do you think that people can run their businesses these days without being on Facebook and social media? Or do you think that it's a required thing these days to run the business?
No, it's not a required thing. I think used well, it's an amazing tool.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, anything that says you have to do it like this freaks me out a little bit. So I'm going to just, without any logic, I'm going to say no, it's got to be possible without it. I've got a great client called Rob, who's Rob Nixon, coaches accountants, incredible guy. It's marketed through email, it's sold on the phone, and they meet 4 times a year. $3 million a year, about 12 days per quarter of work time and the rest of the time free. If he's on Facebook, it's for fun. It's certainly not for work. Mm-hmm. If you had to ask someone 10 years ago, is it possible to run your business without email or without a computer? Everyone would have said no. And I don't have email and I don't have a computer. So I'm cutting edge 10 years ago. That's all I'm saying.
I love it.
Now, I have a question for you because what's coming up is you know, me thinking, you know, what if all these, you know, if there's entrepreneurs that are listening or there will, you know, be listening to
hopefully
this podcast going, oh gosh, you know, we have conversations with people. We're like, you know, I'm telling people that I'm condensing my workday from 10 to 2. I don't work outside those work days because it's all about my family and these sorts of things. And I get a lot of feedback like, oh man, I wish I could do that. You know, I can't.
Of course you can. Pull the fucking trigger. Stop being such a punk about it. It's like, just make a choice. Like, isn't it? Like, 9 to 5 was invented by like the industrialists to to turn you into a cubicle slave, and like school is like ring the bell so you sit down and do your work and eat when they ring it. Like, dude, that's what the man is doing to us. But you can choose. Like the fact that anyone over 18 has the right. I was in Toronto a few years ago, middle of winter. I didn't do any research, and I got off the plane in flip-flops and shorts, and quickly found out that was a bad idea because it's snow, it's cold. It's so cold that you've got to go underground to cross the street. So I go underground, and I cross the street, and I pop into this deli, like cafe place. And the lady behind the counter is from India. And I said, how do you live in a place where the air hurts your face? She goes, I know, we're just used to it. I'm like, but you have a choice. Like, you're over 18 now. You could leave at any time. I'm here for a couple of days and then I'm out. Why are you still here? And I think that's the perfect metaphor for everything else that we just take for granted. Well, she's there because she grew up there. We work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday because we're supposed to. No, dude, you could do whatever you want.
Wow. And coming back, and so that brings up the question that we usually ask everyone, that, given that we've just spoken about choice, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning, Taki? Like, why do you do what it is that you do?
Yeah.
I love creating. I really love the art of our business. I've always thought about myself much more like an artist than a business dude. I'm terrified of spreadsheets. But I just love making things. Like, to be perfectly honest, like, I love my clients to bits. And so I get the two things. I love the people I serve. Don't tell them this, but I would happily pay to do my job. It's really fun. But don't tell them that. But really, I get a real kick about having an idea, creating, like collaborating with somebody, having something go from a conversation or an idea to something on a piece of scrappy brown paper, to have it show up as a slide deck or a workbook or a tool or a thing. It's just a rush, man. I think I'm a maker. I really enjoy that stuff a lot. Years ago, I heard Ken Blanchard. He wrote this book, The 1 Minute Manager. Years ago, it was like the number one management book from the 90s or whatever. And he was in an interview, and he said, I believe life's a total blast, and I still can't believe I actually get the chance to do it. And, we're pretty lucky, dude. Like, life's amazing. Mm-hmm. So I get out of bed because it's really fun, and I get out of bed because I love making things. And I think, like, every year, my wife and I, we sit down and we come up with the theme for the year, a word. And so maybe 4 years ago, we had a really good work year, like a good business year, but it was a bit beige, a bit bland, a bit vanilla. And I was getting a bit antsy about life. And I said, you know what I need? I need more adventures. And so we traveled, we went to Morocco and we did a bunch of cool stuff. And I got back and said, this is like, I was sitting at my local taco shop just down the road here. By the way, it's a secret game to see how many times we can mention tacos and coffee in an interview. I'm sure that's probably a new game.
Got it.
Tacos
are important. Anyway, so I'm sitting there. I'm like, this has been a great year. I don't know. How could I ever possibly top this? And my brain just said, well, that's easy. What if you never came back? I'm like, oh. So then I got a pen, and on the napkin, I just drew out this little thing that became the propeller plan, which was, actually, let me try something. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this off, but let me try something. I know I'm like totally hijacking the deal here, but
yeah, love it.
All right, so let's see if we can. You can see that, right?
Yep.
So I was like, okay, well, if that's Sydney, where home is, and every year, in March and July and November, I've got to come home because we run workshops for clients. What if we kind of just traveled like this? Propeller plan. And we thought, okay, well, I've got 3 places where, 3 loops, what we do? And I said, well, what if we went to we went to Asia, and then we went to the Americas, and we went to Europe. I'm like, well, that looks good. And then I was like, okay, let's what are the 3 places I'd like to spend a month in Asia? And I was like, okay, let's go to the Philippines because we've got a team there. Let's go to Thailand, and let's go to Japan. And then we did the same for, we'd go to East Coast, we'd go to West Coast, and we'd go to South America. And then Europe was, and then I ran home from the taco shop with this crazy plan and told my wife, and bless her little cotton socks, she said yes. And, that, like, being able to get your life the way you want, that's why we get out of bed. It's fun.
Well, it's like gone are the days of the limited thinking of a starving artist, because here's you,
Right.
like, artist to the hilt, and certainly not starving.
I'm intermittent fasting till 2:00, but apart from that,
But let's not. We got to talk about that.
Fasting's different than
We
starving.
got to talk about that. But also, Taki, it takes courage to draw out a plan like that. Like but place yourself amongst most people. It takes courage to draw something out and then commit to it on the spot and say we're gonna do this.
I didn't really think it through. I just thought it sounded fun. To be honest, like, it took courage for Kerry Marie.
Someone had to muster it up.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. For me, I was like, that looks amazing. We're totally doing this. And then it took me a couple of months to get Kerry Marie to, like, we had to, like, we've got this house. What are we going to do with the house? I don't know. We're just going to keep paying for it. Fine. Friends can stay here. It'll be sweet. What do we do with kids in school? Okay, we're going to pull them out. That means we need to buy a teacher. So we found a teacher and we hired her and she traveled. Like, there was a bunch of logistics. But I'm a pretty quick, I don't need a lot of convincing. If it looks like fun, I'm totally in. And so, it means I'm getting myself into and out of trouble a lot. But,
But living the life that you're choosing, and how's that?
Of course.
It's like I think that most people, when they think about what they want, the first thing that comes up for them is, I don't think that you can do that, and then they have to manage that banter between themselves on what they want.
Yep, that's probably true. And it certainly wouldn't have been possible for us 10 years ago to do that.
Obviously, yeah.
But everyone can take a weekend away.
Yes,
and that's also the source of your energy and drive. Also, is actioning things straight up and getting right into it. It seems like that's the thing that drives you and gives you your energy as well.
Yeah. So I only really think in 2 time frames. I think about never, I never ever want to do that, or if it's a good idea, I really want to do it now, and that causes all sorts of other problems, which I don't want to talk about on this podcast. But I think life is, you can make it to be whatever you want it to be. There's no rules about how it's supposed to be done. Like, my parents totally don't get it, and they're always telling me that we need to come back home, and my dad still thinks I should go work for the government, which I think is totally awesome. And I'm like, it's never going to happen, Dad, but thank you for your
give up $1 million a year to go work for the government.
Right, I'm totally going to do that.
But is that because he believes that you could solve some problems there?
No, it's totally not. He's just a government job. No, he doesn't think he can do it. I had a half an idea. I've got no idea where it's gone, so I'm just going to.
That's cool. It'll come back.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
good. Well, I wanted to also talk about your book, Taki, because I got so much out of it. And
Cool.
if your thought comes back, definitely bring it back.
Remember you told Angie she was a stalking you because you never had anyone repeat stuff back in your book to you.
That's right. Totally.
I never did my homework in school, but I'm doing my homework now.
Well, that's because it's a want to, not a have to, There's a big difference.
Yes. Yeah, precisely. And that's what Shane, going back to the homework issue, Shane went to the teacher at the start of the school and said, sorry, just wanted to let you know we're probably not going to do homework this year.
I was just up front. Straight
That's
up.
good. I was way more.
Yeah.
No, I've never thought about that. That's great. Let's get this super clear up front.
It was a strange request that said, look, I want 2 things: no homework, and for them to be able to get their feet on the ground in between classes, like go outside and take their shoes off, because they're very
When
weird.
you say them, are we talking about your kids?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I thought you were like this super clever, 16-year-old. I was like, Miss, I'm not going to do your homework, and I want to take my shoes off.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Talking about our kids.
Yes. So back on the subject of homework. I haven't cleared this with you, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay if we make your book available, because there's so much I got out of it from a systems perspective. I mean, you were spot on when you said before that you're great at making systems. Yeah. And I would agree with you, because it's I'm good at following systems.
Okay, I'm totally not. I'm glad that we both exist in the world.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
And probably some of the greatest things is that I love how it was step by step. start here, do this first, then do this, then do this, then do this. And then you can start expanding. And then it's like you're setting people up to be able to work with you. And I love that, because working with, the $1 million coach, is I mean, we haven't directly worked with you consistently, but just going like going to your event and meeting the amazing people that you bring together a few times a year. It's like you're one of the things that you said that really stuck with me that I loved is the people that you work with come with batteries included.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, really important.
So if you've got
that's a drain.
Yes,
that's a drain. I had to fire a client the other day who was like the opposite of batteries included. I'm like, hey man, you know what? This feels like hard work for me, and like I'm super happy to work hard if it's giving me energy, but there's no time in my life to spend it on anything that's a drain, and I'm just not going to do it. So I think we've made a terrible mistake. By the way, if anyone is a client of mine and you ever hear me say the words, I think you're probably a bit too advanced for us, you've outgrown us, that's code for me saying, I think we're done and I don't really want to do this anymore. And I released him into his future.
You know what? Much respect for being upfront though, Taki. You know, like I think a lot of people do that. They have draining issues because they don't speak up and say things like that when they're interacting with people, whether it be a client or a friend or anything.
Whatever. Yeah, you know? Dude. Where was I uncomfortable yesterday? Is just like such a great question.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable because this dude did it again. Okay, well, let's have the conversation. I got that from Grant, my old boss. We had a client called Silvio. We used to market restaurants years ago. And I won't say what restaurant he was from, but this guy called Silvio was giving Leia, one of the support team, a really hard time, and she was in tears. And I was young. I didn't know that you could, I didn't know that there were no rules, So I just overhear Grant get on the phone and say, Silvio, it's Grant from Results Agency. What's your definition of he goes, do you know what a prostitute is? It was a pretty blunt question, and you could hear this. He goes, well, my definition of a prostitute is someone who does things they don't want to do just for the money. We're not prostitutes, so we're not working together anymore. Goodbye. I was like, you could do that? Right? And it's like in the start of my book, the opening thing says, for Ethan and living in summer. Years ago, I was talking to Mike, who's actually he's my designer, the guy I make stuff with. He's coming up from Melbourne right now. He should arrive in about an hour. We're building our next event. And he traveled around the world much more than I had at the time. New York and London and Paris and like just a bunch of, he's pretty worldly, he's a little bit older than me and done a bunch more. And I said, man, I was 20, maybe 22. I said, mate, you've traveled all around the world. If you could live anywhere, where would you live? And he didn't even hesitate. He just said summer. And my brain just went, that's an option? And that little seed thought just popped into my head. And, this, that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know what I mean? It's just like half an idea popped. And, the truth is, dude, if somebody listens to this and they get the idea that you can do it your own way, wouldn't that be just a great gift? There's no rules. You can absolutely bend this thing to make it the way you want. There's this quote by Emerson. I'm going to butcher it, but Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of those famous American white guys, and says, the reasonable man looks at the circumstances around him and adapts himself to them. The unreasonable man adapts the circumstances to fit his will. That's why all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Something like that. Or woman, clearly. But I think that's just like, you know what? How do you want it to be? Okay, let's make it like that. My friend Dean Jackson travels all around the world, and he likes to travel. He hates waiting for the suitcases to come around the the escalator thing, whatever, you know what I mean? You get off the plane, the bag's doing that thing.
Yep.
Yeah, he hates that. So he's got a travel bag, and his assistant FedExes it to his destination, and he just walks on with a little backpack with a laptop and some headphones, and he gets over the other side, gets to his Airbnb or his hotel, and his bag's waiting for him. Like, that's fantastic. You can do whatever the hell you want. I find stuff like that, like, just mind-expandingly exciting.
That's so brilliant. That's funny because actually before you even
yeah.
said this, I was going to ask you what's like one piece of advice that you would give somebody who's been in business for a while and is meeting that resistance. But what you just said, I'm like, that is absolutely like, I'll take that one on.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
You totally make it however you want.
Bending reality.
100%.
Magic.
Like, yeah, I work with coaches, and 90% of them would disagree with this. But I'm going to say it anyway because I believe it to be, at least in my experience, accurate. I've been to like NLP people and a bunch of personal development seminars, and I've read all the books, and I've done all the stuff which like changes your person, like changes you to improve you, and none of the changes stuck. And it's probably I did it wrong. I'm not saying NLP doesn't work, but it didn't work for me. And so after like 6 years of like doing all the courses and reading all the books and trying to like change me, I just gave up and said, well, shit, man, I don't think I can change me. So what if I just change the world around me to perfectly suit me? And it's so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely.
It's an option. I'm not saying it's good.
Well, do you know, I agree.
You're a bit of a dickhead. You should probably stop that. But
but Taki, it depends on, the best version of you is the best for everyone around you, and that goes for everybody on the planet, because the thing is once you start lifting your game, you're naturally going to lift the game of everyone around you, and people will tell you if you're being a dickhead.
Yeah, they will.
They'll tell you exactly. So you know where to pull your pants up, and when not to.
Yeah, correct. Exactly right. I don't know what I was doing in your hypothetical there with no pants on.
I was actually going to say.
I knew that was coming, Taki. That's why I dropped it in there, because I know how your mind works.
Well, it's a stand-up desk, and I just want to let you know I am wearing pants.
Fresh from the beach.
Fresh from the beach, totally.
Well, thank you, Taki, for taking the time to
We're
spend with us.
over an hour.
Yeah. So, Taki, the $1 Million Coach. You, from my observation of you, absolutely in this space of marketing, and in being yourself in marketing and changing paradigms around marketing, thinking that people have to do the daily grind, where it doesn't have to be that difficult. And I think that that's a main message, like what you said. If it's complicated or if it's too hard, you're doing it
hard
wrong.
work, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. And just to have a look at simplifying and multiplying and creating your propeller life around you. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Taki, and your reality more.
That's right. 100%.
Maybe you can use that one.
I was like, great. I'll totally steal that. That's good.
Good. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on our Energized Leaders series podcast. And you're definitely, in my eyes, one of those energized leaders. So thank you very much for you just being you and bringing yourself to the table and sharing yourself with everyone else. And I know there's definitely going to be some nuggets in there for other people listening. So
thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for teaching me to breathe. It's been amazing.
Pleasure.